Hello, people. Andrew here, talking about comics from a reader, collector, speculator, investor point of view, in that order of importance to myself. And today I'm talking about The New Mutants, a book that was released in 1982 for Marvel graphic novel number 4, and then continued on from 1983 to 1991 for 100 issues, 7 annuals, and 1 special. I'm going to talk about the first 54 issues and the graphic novel because they were all written by Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont didn't really want to write another X-Men book, but when Jim Shooter approached him and said, well, if you don't write a new X-Men book for us, then I'll get somebody else too. Chris Claremont said, well, he's a little protective of the X-Men and wants to develop the story the way he wants to have it developed. So he took over the reins for the New Mutants. New Mutants, very different book than the Uncanny X-Men. Uncanny X-Men, very adventure, very intense, very gripping stories. This one focuses more on a young group of teenagers who are just, becoming exposed to their powers, discovering their powers. So they have to deal with that idea that they have this set of powers, as well as dealing with being a teenager. It's got a global flavor to it. Rain Sinclair, who is Wolfsbane, she comes from Scotland. Roberto de la Costa, is that his name? Yeah, da Costa. He's from Brazil. So he's got to deal with that. And there's also culture shock, again, with Rain Sinclair from being sort of secluded in Scotland, Presbyterian land. And Sam Guthrie from Kansas, or is it Arkansas? Anyways, he's basically been on the farm most of his life. So some of the big city of New York, where this is set, of course, there is a culture shock, and then dealing with other teenagers and the way that they think and the things that they do. So that sort of development, they're not designed to be like the Uncanny X-Men going out on grand adventures fighting grand villains. It is much more of an internal situation, dealing with, as I say, with growing up and being a teenager and adjusting to these powers. Now, they're rebellious, and when certain situations arise and they're told, you're too young to handle this sort of situation, they say, well, now we got the powers, let's give it a shot. So they have that sort of adventurous spirit. Roberto da Costa tends to really inspire them to go out and check out all of this sort of stuff, and they follow his, not quite his lead. I mean, Cannonball, Sam Guthrie, and Danielle Moonstar are supposed to be the leaders of the team, but teenagers will find their own leaders. Uh, is it a good read? It is a good read as far as the development of characters. It's not as quite as adventurous and grand scale as the Uncanny X-Men, but it is an interesting look at, as I say, the development of both their powers, their skills, and their life as a teenager. Some arcs are better than others, but you'll find that anywhere. And I don't find it quite as gripping as that original Chris Claremont run on the Uncanny X-Men. But there are some dynamite arcs within it. The best, of course, being the Demon Bear story, which was later on. I'll show you the covers and talk a little bit about that. But also, the Demon Bear story was the inspiration for the 2020 film of the same name, The New Mutants. Okay, so who are the New Mutants? There are 5 to begin with. As I said, there's Samuel Guthrie. He's on the top there. He's Cannonball, the one with the pink surrounding her head. That's Shan Chao Mon. She's from Vietnam. Her name is Karma. She showed up actually in Marvel Team Up number 100. That's her first appearance. The black silhouetted shadow fellow. That's Roberto da Costa. That's known as Sunspot. The gal with the braids leaning over the wolf, that would be Danielle Moonstar. She was one of those characters, and there's a couple of them out there in the Marvel Universe that have trouble with a code name. And originally it's Mirage, and it changes to Psyche or something else. Nobody ever settled on it, so now I think she's just called Danielle Moonstar. The wolf is Rain Sinclair, also known as Wolfsbane, the ability to transform from human to wolf and sometimes to a hybrid form. There are some interesting developments. I like her development. It's a slow development, but it's happening there because she comes from, as I say, she's from Scotland. She's very much a Presbyterian, and very religious, and very conflicted about the idea that the minister is saying that she's now evil because she's she takes on the form of a wolf, which is, a beast from the devil. Wolves get such a bad rep. Eh? I mean, you take a look at all the grim fairy tales and what have you, and it's always the wolf that's the bad guy. And now they're associated with Dracula. Why Dracula? Why are you associating a wolf with Dracula? He's all about the vampire bats and stuff, and wolves don't do that. But all of these, stories and what have you associate a wolf with being something evil. So when the minister is telling Rain that, well, you can now you're an evil person, and she's very conflicted because she says, I don't feel evil, but I must be because I can turn into a wolf. So she has a lot of issues to deal with on that front. And of all the characters, she has the biggest culture shock. She's the youngest. I think she's only like 14 in the beginning of this series. The biggest culture shock because she led, a secluded life out in Scotland. So I do like her development of characters. I like all the slight developments that are going on with all of the characters, and that's prevalent within the series written by Chris Claremont. So it's a good read for that sort of development of character development. There's enough little adventures going on. Sometimes the adventures actually get in the way of the development, but that's part of what a comic book is about. You got to have a certain amount of action and adventure in there. So it appeals on that front. Is it as gripping as the Uncanny X-Men? No, it is not. And sometimes the pacing can be a little slow, but overall I found it to be a good and worthwhile read. After the 70s Uncanny X-Men and a little bit beyond that, I stopped reading the Uncanny X-Men, but I did come back to the New Mutants, or started with the New Mutants, and I found that I enjoyed this series. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the covers and stuff. There's a lot of books here that could be considered collectible or speculation. I'll say right off the bat when it comes down to the investment part, do I think that any of these books should be encased in plastic and have a little 9.8 sticker up on the top? That's entirely up to you, but there are so many different characters that are introduced. It's hard for me to say that one over the other is going to become the breakout star. I mean, this was written in the 80s, and none of these characters are breakout stars. But they're all very prominent and featured within the Marvel universe. And as I said, even there was a film. So are things going to change for any one of these particular characters or any of the characters that didn't start off in this particular book? I can't say. So at best, when it comes down to that, it would be speculate by buying a quality copy, a high-grade copy in raw condition, and then wait and see if that develops into something else. All of the books, primarily all the spec books that I'm going to talk about, they're all roughly around the same price, and you can get them anywhere from $5 to $20. This one here is the first printing of Marvel Graphic Novel number 4. Now, about 2 years ago, I was, when I got back into comic books, probably around 2019, 2020, when I started getting interested again in the comic book field, I was really looking for a copy of New Mutants, the graphic novel number 4, and I couldn't find one anywhere. Well, a couple of years ago, I did find a copy, and it was a third print, and it was in worse shape than this. Is actually in very sharp shape. So when I say worse shape, it was just a grade or two less in a third printing, and it was selling for $30. And I almost bought it then just because I had such a hard time finding this book. But a year later, I did find a first print in better shape for only $40. This is probably the most expensive of the New Mutants in the first 54, because Deadpool shows up later on. But in the first 54, this is the most expensive book of the bunch. And as I said, I only paid $40 for a first printing in sharp condition. If you can find one, I would suggest it, just because it introduces 4 new characters: Cannonball, Sunspot, Daniel Moonstar, and Wolfsbane. 4 important characters or significant characters to the Marvel Universe. So definitely one that should be on the radar. It's a little difficult because it is magazine size, and in the past there's been a little bit of a push away from magazines because they don't fit into a nice standard box. You got to buy a separate box for it, different bags, boards, and for some reason collectors shy away a little bit more so from the magazines. I see that turning around a little bit more. People are interested in some of the magazines like Vampirella and the Creepy and even Heavy Metal, and they're a renewed interest to some extent in magazines. So this format is no longer a hindrance. It's just not as easy to find as some other books. So yes, the first four appearances in here. As I said, I bought it for $40, a first print, sharp looking copy. This is probably the most expensive in that first 54 run. So there was Chris Claremont wrote all of these books from 1 through 54, and then art-wise there was Bob McLeod did the first batch. There was Bill Sienkiewicz, yes, and he did a number of pieces. There was Rick Leonardi, Jackson Guise. There was covers by Barry Windsor Smith, and I'm going to show you some of this stuff as we go through it here. So this is the very first issue here, and it shows some, breaking out. It's a good looking cover. I like the purple background, sharp looking book. And that one sells, as I said, you're going to be looking at, I don't know, 5 to $20. It depends on where you go and who you're speaking to. And you can always get these books in really sharp condition. If it's in a slightly lower grade condition, it'll probably cost you less, and a slightly higher grade may cost you more. This is issue number 3, and this is the first appearance or mention of the Demon Bear. I bring it to that attention because it's part of that storyline, and at one point, it commanded a few dollars more, but it's really not all that significant other than, sort of the first mention concept of it. So there was a group of characters called Team America, and it was a really poorly written series about 3 motorcyclists on some sort of roadshow carnival type of tour. And anyways, they showed up in issues number 5 and 6 of the New Mutants, and I think this was probably just not Chris Claremont's idea, but he was told that to help promote the Team America, let's include it in some of our books, and so it was included in, as I say, issue 5 or 6. Surprisingly, not on the cover, which you would think that if you're trying to promote the characters, they would be on the cover. That's fine with me. I don't particularly like Team America in any way, shape, or form, but I do like the Viper and Silver Samurai, and I think this is a great cover of both of those. And this would just be the follow-up to that one. So as a 2-part that featured Team America. Again, Silver Samurai on this one. Okay, so this is issue number 8, and this is a new character is going to be introduced in issue number 8, a character called Magma. And again, Magma has showed up in a number of books, and I think she's still around doing other stuff right now. So this is, again, $5, $10, $20 book, not even 20, but a first appearance of a character, Magma. Obviously, Magma associated with volcanic activity and what have you. This could be, I don't know if I would want to call it a sleeper, but it sort of passed my radar for our first time around. This is issue number 9, and it features a character by the name of Selene. And Selene is the Black Queen from the Hellfire Club. And this is her first appearance. The Hellfire Club, that's where Emma Frost comes from. So Selene is a significant character in that group. This is issue number 13, and it's the first appearance of Doug Ramsey, who would go on to become Cypher. Not the most popular of characters, although I thought his abilities were pretty neat. The ability to read pretty much any kind of language. So he doesn't have any super power other than that, which is a pretty darn good power. So he's, but not a fan favorite. This is where he first shows up as Doug Ramsey. One of the New Mutants, and you'll see her in the film, and she's there right from the beginning, is Ilyana Rasputin, the sister of Colossus, Peter Rasputin. And she's the character, this is the first time she's referred to as the character Magic. The one that's ability to jump into the limbo dimension and back and do some teleportation, and with a little bit of the demon in her soul. This is the first time that she's referred to as Magic. Okay, issue number 16. Again, this is one that I look at because it's the first appearance of the Hellions, and I'm going to read the names here: Cat's Eye, Empath, Jetstream, Roulette, Tarot, and Warpath. Although he's called Thunderbird initially, but he develops into Warpath. All of those characters make their first appearance here as the Hellions. And some of them will go on. Well, Warpath goes on to be part of the Marvel Universe in a more significant way. But each one of them has the potential to become somebody a little bit more specific. And there's so that's six new characters are introduced in this issue here, issue number 16. So again, that would be a consideration. I liked the conflict with the Hellions, and that runs pretty much throughout this entire run by Chris Claremont. They come and go, and they're teenagers as well. So they develop friendships, even though they're supposed to be enemies. They just don't see things that way. Not so black and white. Sometimes they want to help one another, even though they're from rival schools with rival ideas. But ultimately, they don't have as many rival ideas. There are similarities because of their upbringing and the fact that they're teenagers in this. Don't necessarily want to fight your war, Mr. Adult. The first of the Bill Sienkiewicz issues. And his run ran until issue 30... Oh, I'm trying to think. 31. And this, to me, is the highlight of the entire New Mutants run, including anything that happened afterwards, because the artwork is very... it's a great period for Bill Sienkiewicz, because his experimentation and sort of changed perspective on things is balanced between what is known and recognizable, and as we'll see, a little bit more liberal in interpretation, a little bit more some of the abstract that starts developing. It's not just on the covers, it's on the interior as well. I think this is some of his best work, and it's definitely his best work from this period. Even though he was also doing Moon Knight, I think this is even better stuff. And again, we're into the Demon Bear storyline, which was a lot of fun, very interesting. It is, and this is my favorite of the covers of all of the New Mutants covers. This one is my favorite, and again, it shows the different artistic style that we're going with here. Very good story. I would recommend this story, the whole little Demon Bear thing, even if you're not a New Mutants or an Uncanny X-Men fan. It's a story that can stand up on its own. Obviously, it was made some impact, because, as I say, it was used in the 2020 film as part of the template. And if yeah. I was going to say, but I can't remember if that's the name of the film or not. So again, I'm just going to go through some of the Bill Sienkiewicz covers here, because I think they're all kind of interesting, and they have that different look to them. We got a giant... Oh, I missed talking about Warlock. That was issue number 18. That was a couple issues back. That was that first Demon Bear one, wasn't it? Yes. This one here. That's the first appearance of a character called Warlock. Not the same Adam Warlock, but a different Warlock, that sort of a techno-virus type of guy, creature thing, another alien being. So, yeah. I should have mentioned that. As I say, just going through some of these covers at the moment, and I do like all of this, and I do like all of the run. I think that it's there's some interesting artwork happening on the exterior, and interesting artwork on the interior as well. And issue number 23, we get to see Cloak and Dagger make an appearance in the New Mutants. Always happy to see them. They run from 23 through 25. Again, we see some of that artwork happening there. And with issue number 25, you're also going to be introduced to a cameo of a character named Legion, who ended up getting his own TV show as well. So out of the ones that I've shown you, other than the Marvel graphic novel #4, some of the other books that I've talked about have some spec appeal. This one did make a little bit more of a dent, probably because Legion was released as a TV show. So this is the cameo of Legion, and the first full issue is #26. And for a while there, these two books were, significant. Well, significant compared to the other books, significant more. They'd be like $25 to $30, maybe as high as $50. The price has come back down so that it's in line with pretty much all of the other first appearances of these characters. I wouldn't be surprised if the Black Queen Celine's first appearance tends to go up in value more so than Legion. There's still the potential for her to develop into something else. But this is the first full appearance of Legion. And again, you can see the artwork, how it's a little bit abstract, a little bit extended. I really liked this the artwork here. Again, so we're just going through the books here. Now, this coming up here, this is kind of a not quite a sleeper, but a sleeper spec, I guess. Issue #29. It's the first appearance of, I just want to get his name, Guido Carosella. And who is Guido Carosella? He is Strong Guy. And this is his first appearance. And even though, people have known that this is the first appearance of Strong Guy, it just flies under the radar. You can still find copies of this. I don't know if you'd find any in the dollar bin, but out of all the specs that I mentioned, all the new characters, for some reason, this one is just whatever, and it's like $5 or $6. But really, I think he's has had a significant impact on the Marvel universe, and I find him a very fun and interesting character. This is his first appearance. If I find another copy of this in a $5 bin in condition just as well, I will spec on that. So we're getting down there as far as the last of this particular one. Again, I love the style of artwork here. I know there are some people that aren't crazy about it, but I do particularly like it. So after that particular issue, there is this little special here. And this is where Daniel Moonstar first encounters Brightwind, the flying horse in Asgard. Her storyline, as I said, she was key to the whole Demon Bear storyline. She's developed as a character. She's a leader of the New Mutants because of her age and her maturity. And then I don't know if it's because they didn't know what to do with her, or that they made a conscious decision to go ahead with working her in towards being one of the Valkyries from Asgard and changing. And I just no, I don't think that didn't work for me. But this is the first time in Asgard. And this is where she first encounters the horse Brightwind. And then with 32, we got the beginning of who is it? Steve Leloa. I guess he's the artist in this. But this, more importantly, is the first appearance of the city. I guess it's a city, the island. What is it? Madripoor. But it's Madripoor, where Wolverine likes to hang out an awful lot. This is the first mention or appearance or map designation of that particular locale. Some other recognizable artists did work on the covers. This is by Barry Windsor Smith, and actually he does a number of covers, moving from here till the end of Chris Claremont's run. I thought this was a particularly good one. I liked the color and the design. This is an Arthur Adams cover, and it features the White Queen. Again, a pretty good image of the White Queen in all of her nastiness. Back to Barry Windsor Smith. Nice to see Captain America putting the shield to Magneto. Is it Magneto or Magneto? When you think about it, there's the word magnet, and you put an O on the end, it would be Magneto, but everybody refers to it as Magneto, so I don't know. But Magneto became the headmaster of the school where the New Mutants attend and was the man in charge of the New Mutants for a period of time. I'm not sure exactly why Captain America is punching him in the face with a shield, but it's good to see Cap and Magneto have a Hatter, and it's a Barry Windsor Smith cover. This was part of the fell into the anniversary line for the 25th Marvel anniversary. All of the Marvel books from this period, this month around, they had this border. This is the New Mutants version, Barry Windsor Smith's central piece of Magic. And the final book in Chris Claremont's run. So, from, as I say, from issue 1 to 54, and then it's taken over by Louise Simonson. But we'll talk about that one another time. The last book I want to show is that there were 3 annuals also written around this time, and here is annual number 2, which is the first American appearance of a character called Psylocke. And again, probably it's one of the more expensive books out of the bunch. There'd be Marvel graphic novel number 4, the first appearance of the New Mutants. But this, in this particular run, may take second place as far as value is concerned. So all said and done, is it worth a read? Yeah, it's worth a read. It's a decent adventure. It's not as thrilling as the original run by Chris Claremont from the Uncanny X-Men in the late 70s, but there is some good character development. There are some good stories, good story arcs. All of this stuff featuring the work by Bill Sienkiewicz. Sorry, I keep getting that name wrong. Why is that? But it's Sienkiewicz. All of his work in that series is spectacular, and I think it might have inspired Chris Claremont to write even a better story, knowing that the artist that he's got to interpret some of his ideas and concepts. So I recommend, if you're going to read any of the New Mutants, read that particular run from 17 to 31. That's the ones that I've been, specifically the Demon Bear storyline. So on that front, yes, it's a good read. It's not as gripping as I say as the Uncanny X-Men, but it's still a good read. And there's a fair amount of books that I've just gone through that you can certainly speculate on. So that's it for the New Mutants Part 1. I'm not sure exactly when I'll do Part 2, but Part 2 includes looking at Louise Simonson's work and also the first appearances of Cable and Deadpool. All right, that's it for now, people. Good seeing you, good talking to you, and hope to see you again soon.